Hi everyone, this is Joy with Create It with Joy. Thanks for joining me today and for watching my YouTube channel. Today's card is a really beautiful card using Altenew's Painted Butterflies stamp set. I'm also using Altenew's Mega Hello die and Simon Says Stamp Tiny Words. So I am using a piece of Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock, trimmed down to A2 sized, and I've got it in my MISTI, and I am just taking the outline shape of these painted butterflies, and each butterfly I believe has 3 different stamps to it to layer it. So I am doing the outline, and it also has like little center pieces on it, and I'm just laying these out. I'm going to ink them up with Simon Says Stamp clear ink because we are going to emboss it with ultra fine antique gold from Simon Says Stamp embossing powder. So I'm going to prep my paper really good with the anti-static tool because I don't want any little dots of gold anywhere. Then I will ink up my stamps and stamp those onto the paper. Really get a good impression. Again, this is just the outline of these butterflies. So I'm going to pour on my embossing powder. Make sure your heat gun is nice and warmed up so your paper does not warp. And then look how cute those are. Any little spots that had some gold, I'm just using a paintbrush and getting them off. And then I'm going to heat this up. And I love the way embossing powder looks when it melts. I'm not sure about you guys, but there's something super satisfying about it. So heat that up till it's all melted, and then I'm gonna put this back in my MISTI and add a few more butterflies because I kind of wanted this to feel, I'm making my own background patterned paper. So I'm gonna repeat all my steps: anti-static tool, inking, embossing, using the heat tool, and get everything inked up because we are going to be coloring these with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers and a water pen. And these colors are so gorgeous together, and I thought with the gold it is perfect. So the colors I'm using are on the screen: Persian Green, Peacock Blue, and Violet. So I am laying down the Persian Green first. It's really dark. Then I'm going to put down the Violet and then some of the Persian Green. Then I will take my water brush pen. I don't want it super wet because I still want a high concentration of color. So I've got my paper towel next to me, and I'm just going to blend that out ever so slightly, and not even a ton. I'm not even going to blend all the way out. I'm kind of starting a little bit in the center, and as you can see, I'm wiping off the darker color so it doesn't contaminate the other color too much. I do want a little bit of a blend between the colors, but not a ton, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to wipe that off on a paper towel, but you can see how easily and nice these blend. And I'm sorry, I'm using watercolor paper. I am not using Neenah. Excuse me. This would not work on a regular cardstock. You need a watercolor paper. So I used a Bristol Smooth watercolor paper, and there's no texture to it at all. It's completely smooth. But I think this would be really pretty on textured watercolor paper too. Not a crazy texture, but a really soft texture. But look how pretty that is. So I'm just going to do a couple more of these, and then I'm going to turn on some music for you guys to finish coloring. It's nice and relaxing. But again, laying down the Persian Green, then the Violet, then the Peacock Blue. I think that's the order I laid them down in. And then again, just using my water brush pen, a little bit wet. If it's too wet, just dab it off on your paper towel. I want a watercolored look, but I don't want it to dilute the color so much. I really want these to be nice and dark, but then with a really soft blend. That's why I chose these instead of like a Copic marker or colored pencils. Not that they wouldn't be beautiful, because they would, but this title is called Painted Butterflies, so it needs to look like they were painted, I thought. So finish this up. And then I'm going to turn on some music here in a second. You guys just sit back, relax, watch the butterflies get painted, and enjoy. And I will be back. are done being painted, I am taking those same colors, putting it down on my glass media mat by Tim Holtz, getting them wet, using a different paintbrush and flicking those colors all over the background. I didn't want a stark white background, and I thought this would look really pretty to have these little tiny drops all over the background. So just get it nice and wet, tap everywhere. This glass media mat is so perfect for this, you guys. So easy to clean up, you just wipe it up. Using the distress sprayer just to spray it and get a little bit wet. Perfect. Okay, so here is the big Mega Hello die by Altenew. And here's where I had a little bit of a heart attack. I had to die cut through this beautiful image, but you'll see why. We're gonna pop up the word hello on the front of this, and so it'll have this three-dimensional. You'll still have your full image, but it will be three-dimensional. But even if you change this out, you could make 2 cards from this. You could take that die cut hello and put that on a different card, and then you could put a solid colored cardstock hello in the center of that background. But really super pretty, so you have lots of ways to do things. Now, I originally glued a black cardstock on the back of this, which you would not need to do. I had something in mind, and then I, of course, changed my mind because, you know, number one, as women, and then as artists, we change our mind all the time. So I am adhering this down with some adhesive. You could use any kind that you wanted. I'm just using a tape runner here. I thought I was going to have the die cut words offset where you would have a little bit of a black frame, but then I decided I didn't want such a contrast. So I changed my mind. So I'm just kind of playing around being like, how do I want this? But if you wanted to do that, it would still look beautiful. You could do it with like a purple cardstock or blue cardstock, Peacock, any of those, and that would be pretty too. So I'm placing the word die in there so I can glue the center pieces in. So I'm just laying in the word die. I'm not gluing that part down. I am gluing down the center pieces for the H and the L and the O and the E. And then I will take the big hello out of there, and I'm going to use some fun foam and stick it adhesive for the big word die. So I'm going to run that through my die cut machine. You'll see here in just a second. See, now all those center pieces are in there. So you could leave it like that and it would be gorgeous. So I've run my fun foam and stick it. I am not taking the whole word out of the fun foam, and the reason why is sometimes fun foam, for me anyways, when I have cut a word or something out of it, I tend to kind of pull it out of shape, and you can put it back in shape, but I just thought if I just leave it in here and take off the sticky side, then I can just adhere the paper piece to that, if that makes sense. So all the sticky is still around on the non-cut part of this word. So I'm just laying down the word hello, where I've taken off the sticky off of the fun foam. And I found this to be so much easier for me. I just personally have trouble sometimes getting it right. So now I can just pop it out of there, and you've got instant dimension. And I can pop out those center pieces that we don't need. And then you've got this great large die word. So I did not have stick it on the back of that fun foam. I just had it on the front. So I'm just going to use some liquid glue to put it down, which for me was nice because I do have this black cardstock and I wanted to make sure everything lined up and I had time to kind of shift and move things around. Now with the fun foam, when you're using the stick it, if there was stick it on the back of this, if you just kind of lined it up and really didn't push it down, it doesn't stick until you really give good pressure. So you can do it that way, but this was just easier for me. My piece already just had stick it on one side, so I wasn't worried about it. So getting that all adhered down, using my tool-in-one to kind of just help push and pull things in the right spot, and I just love how it turned out. I love this big word die. Okay, so now we're going to stamp the sentiment, and we're using Simon Says Stamp Peacock cardstock, and I'm going to white heat emboss that. So prep it with your anti-static tool, use some clear embossing ink and white embossing powder, that is so funny, and ink that up. So I've got 2 sentiments. One is just saying, and then the other one is you're one of a kind. So heating that up, and I will trim that up using my Tim Holtz paper trimmer. Here's the last one. Again, prepping my paper, inking it, and putting the white embossing powder on it. And I loved it on this Peacock cardstock. It could not have looked any more perfect. But if you're a person who likes purple, it would look just as gorgeous, but I am very much a teal kind of a person. Now, I did not get a good stamped image, so I just put it right back in my MISTI, stamped it again, added more embossing powder, and heated that up. So I'm just going to adhere these to the tops of the popped up letters, just using a little bit of Multimedia Matte by Ranger. Just adhering that at the top so it says just saying, and then the bottom one is you're one of a kind. And then I'm going to attach this to an A2 sized card base, and that's all you need to do. Look how pretty that is. I love how this card turned out. Gorgeous. All the shimmer from the gold. You can see the dimension from the word hello. You've got the full image. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching. You are a blessing to me every single day. If you like what you've seen, please thumbs up, subscribe, and please share my channel so other people can enjoy this too. There's some affiliate links below. It costs you nothing, but it helps me. Thank you guys, and I'll be back. Bye.